The universe is not a quiet place. It thrums with the engine songs of a million ships, it whispers with the data streams of 1,000 empires, and it echoes with the decrees of those who believe the void is their inherited throne. For eons, the galactic spiral arm we call home was a tapestry woven by ancient, powerful hands. The Cathar hegemony, their chitinous forms hardened in the high-gravity forge of their homeworld, built fortresses that could withstand the fury of a supernova. The Sylvan Concordance, beings of shimmering light and intricate biocrystal, cultivated gardens that spanned entire nebulae, their wisdom as deep as spacetime itself. And the Glesian Compact, with their cold calculating logic, managed trade and treaties with an efficiency that was as flawless as it was soulless. These were the empires. They were the law. They were the history books. To them, the galaxy was a finished painting, and they were the master artists. New species, when they stumbled into the light of the stars, were given a simple choice: kneel, assimilate, and find a small preordained corner of the canvas to add a minor flourish. Or be erased, their brief flicker of existence deemed an aesthetic flaw. And then, there was us. We came not with a graceful leap, but with a desperate, fiery scramble. Our cradle, Earth, was a scarred and beautiful testament to our turbulent adolescence. We were not unified by a single purpose, but driven by 1,000 competing ones. We were not a monolith of culture, but a glorious, chaotic cacophony of it. When our first FTL drives tore a ragged hole in reality, we didn't emerge as a new empire. We emerged as refugees, explorers, entrepreneurs, and fools, bleeding broken, but breathing the thin, cold air of the infinite for the first time. The empires looked upon our ramshackle ships, our conflicting ideologies, our short lives, and our chaotic passions, and they dismissed us. They called us the splintered apes. A noisy, primitive, and ultimately insignificant anomaly. They said space belonged to the ordered, the ancient, the powerful. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The story I want to tell you begins on the edge of known space, in a star system the charts designated as Xylos. It was a binary system, a yellow dwarf and a red dwarf locked in a lazy dance, with 3 planets. The third, Xylos 3, was a Goldilocks world, lush, temperate, and rich in bio-rare minerals the Sylvan Concordance used for their crystalline computing. By the law of the empires, it was a concordance protectorate. A preserve. Off-limits. But when the Odyssey's promise, a human survey vessel, limped into the system after a misjump, their sensors told a different story. It was uninhabited. Pristine. A second chance for a humanity that had worn out its first one. We didn't see a preserve, we saw a sanctuary. We didn't plant a flag. We planted seeds. A small colony, New Haven, sprang up on a fertile continent. It was a humble place, built from salvaged ship hulls and locally sourced timber. The air smelled of pine and damp earth, a scent that brought tears to the eyes of those who remembered a world they'd never see again. For 5 years, they thrived. Children were born who knew the feel of real grass under their feet. They thought they were alone. They were not. The Cathar hegemony patrol cruiser, the unwavering Mandible, dropped out of warp space with a sound like reality screaming. It was a brutalist masterpiece of black metal and glowing red weapon ports, a shape designed to intimidate. It dwarfed the colony, casting a long cold shadow over the fields of wheat and the little schoolhouse. The colony leader, a soft-spoken botanist named Eris Thorne, stood on the landing field, his heart hammering against his ribs. The Cathar delegation that descended the ramp was everything he'd feared from the galaxy's stories. 8 feet tall, their obsidian carapaces gleaming, their multifaceted eyes reflecting the terrified faces of the colonists. Their leader, Sub-Commander Carve, didn't bother with a translator at first. He simply pointed a claw-tipped limb at the colony, then at the sky, a universal gesture of leave. Eris activated his own translator. We didn't know this system was claimed. We are a peaceful settlement. We ask for silence. Soft skin. Carve's voice was a dry rattle, like stones grinding together. This world is a tributary of the Sylvan Concordance. Your presence is a contamination. You have one of your planetary rotations to dismantle your infestation and depart. Any who remain will be cleansed. The word cleansed hung in the air, cold and absolute. We have children here, Eris pleaded, his voice cracking. We have nowhere to go. Our ship, it can't make another long jump. Please. We ask for asylum. For a chance. Carve took a step forward, the ground shaking slightly. He looked at the human structures, the welded metal, the wooden planks, the vegetable patches. He saw chaos. Weakness. Your reproductive habits and your technological inadequacies are not our concern. The law is the law. The strong dictate it. The weak obey it. You are weak. You have one rotation. The unwavering mandible didn't leave. It took a geosynchronous position overhead, a constant, grim reminder of the deadline. Panic threatened to consume New Haven. Despair was a physical weight. This was the reality of the galaxy the empires had built. Order, without mercy. Law, without compassion. Power, without responsibility. This was the moment the empires expected us to break. To pack our few belongings and flee into the dark, another lesson in why the old powers ruled. But they had fundamentally misread the subject of their lesson. They saw our colony as a weakness, a tether, a vulnerability. They didn't understand it was the very source of our strength. Eris Thorne didn't call a meeting in the town hall. He stood on the porch of his cabin, looking out at the faces of the people he was sworn to protect. Farmers, engineers, doctors, artists, and the children playing by the stream, oblivious to the sword hanging above them. He saw not a group to be ordered, but a tapestry of potential. He didn't give a grand speech. He simply said, "They have given us a day. They think we are one thing, weak. They are wrong. We are not just a colony. We are humanity, in microcosm. And we will find 1,000 different answers to their one simple problem." What happened next was not a coordinated military operation. It was a symphony of chaos, a beautiful, desperate explosion of human ingenuity. In the makeshift engineering bay, Lena Petrova, a woman who had built her first reactor out of scrap in the Martian belt, looked at the schematics of a Kthar cruiser her long-range scanners had barely managed to capture. "They rely on centralized power systems," she muttered to her team, her fingers flying across a tablet. "Heavily armored, but all routed through a primary conduit here, in the aft section. It's a single point of failure. Arrogant." "But we can't get through their shields," a young engineer protested. Lena smiled, a sharp, dangerous thing. "Who said anything about getting through? We don't need to break the shield. We just need to make their own systems." Hiccup. "They use tachyon pulses for their long-range comms. If we can mimic a gravitational lensing event, a fake microsingularity, we could flood their sensors with garbage data. Blind them, deafen them. It won't hurt them, but it will give them a hell of a migraine." Meanwhile, in the biolab, Elijah Vance, a xenobotanist, was staring at a local fun. Spore. It was a fascinating organism, a rapid decomposer that fed on complex silicones. The exact material the Kthar used for their external sensor housings and communication arrays. "It's not a weapon," he insisted to a skeptical security officer. "It's a delivery system for a particularly aggressive cleaning solution. If we can aerosolize it and get it into their external ventilation, it won't stop them, but it'll gum up the works. Make everything sticky and slow." Out in the fields, Anya Sharma, the colony's de facto cultural liaison and a historian by trade, was scouring every database they had on the Kthar hegemony and the Sylvan Concordance. "There's a discrepancy," she announced, her eyes wide. "The Concordance laws on protectorates are very specific. They require an annual audit, a presence. There's been no Sylvan ship here for over 70 years. The Kthar are enforcing a claim that their allies may have functionally abandoned. They're not just being ruthless, they're being bureaucratic. They're flexing." "And that helps us how?" someone asked. "Because," Anya said, a plan forming in her mind, "if we can get a message to the Concordance, we can challenge the legitimacy of this cleansing. The Kthar value their treaties. Being caught in a blatant act of overreach would be a massive loss of face." And so, 3 distinct plans were born, not from a single commander, but from the unique expertise of individuals. Petrova's ghost in the machine, Vance's spore bomb, and Sharma's paper tiger. They weren't mutually exclusive. In fact, they began to weave together. The children, sensing the tension but not the terror, were put to work by an old retired network specialist, Mr. Henderson. "You see these metal scraps?" he said, his voice warm. "We're going to build the biggest, most beautiful mobile the galaxy has ever seen. A signal." They built a vast, rotating structure of polished metal and salvaged reflective sheeting, a kinetic art piece that, when the sun hit it, would flash a complex repeating pattern into the sky. A pattern Anya Sharma assured them was a Sylvan Concordance distress call, a plea for aid from a protected world. The colony became a hive of quiet, determined activity. There was no single leader, only a shared purpose. A farmer helped an engineer calibrate a power emitter. A teacher helped the bio team carefully cultivate the fungal spores. This was not the ordered hierarchical response of the hegemony. This was a neural network firing, a community transforming into an organism with a single goal: survive. As the deadline approached, Subcommander Cross observed the flurry of activity from his bridge. He saw the humans running about, building strange, non-military structures, tinkering with low-yield energy sources. He scoffed. "They are panicking," he stated to his second. "They are like insects whose nest has been disturbed. They build trivialities. They do not comprehend the force that is about to fall upon them. It is pathetic." He had seen species try to fight. He had seen them try to flee. He had never seen a species try to fight by building a children's art project and growing mold. It only confirmed his belief in their inferiority. He gave the order. In 1 hour, the cleansing would begin. The final hour was a pocket of eerie calm. The work was done. All that was left was the waiting. Eris Thorn stood with his people in the central square, looking up at the malevolent red eye of the unwavering mandible. He held the hand of his young daughter. "Are they going to hurt us, Daddy?" she whispered. "No, sweetheart," he said, his voice steady, though his soul was screaming. "We've sent a message. Help is coming." He didn't know if it was true, but it was the only weapon he had left. On the bridge of the Kthar cruiser, the weapons officer spoke up. "Subcommander, we are detecting anomalous energy readings from the surface. Multiple low-frequency sources. It appears to be coordinated background noise." Before Cross could respond, another officer chimed in. "External sensor acuity is dropping. Some form of particulate matter is adhering to the housings. It is degrading resolution. It appears to be organic in nature." Cross felt a flicker of irritation. "Activate cleaning drones. And pinpoint the source of that energy noise. It is a minor annoyance." That was when the real anomaly hit. A massive gravitational wave, a signature identical to a microsingularity forming and collapsing, registered on their long-range scanners. It was impossible. It was right on top of them. Alarms blared across the bridge as the ship systems, designed to prioritize threats from other capital ships, went into a defensive frenzy. Shields automatically rerouted power, weapon systems swung to target empty space, and the main comms array was flooded with a screech of simulated tachyon static. "Report." Cross roared, his claws digging into his command console. "We are blind. Sensors are offline. Comms are jammed. It is an attack." But from whom? They scanned the void. Nothing. No Glesian battle group, no rogue concordance vessel. Just the quiet, placid planet below. And then the communications officer, struggling with his gummed-up console, managed to filter a signal. It wasn't the jamming. It was a visual broadcast from the planet's surface on a concordance emergency channel. It showed the human colony. Not their weapons, not their fortifications. It showed their children, their faces smudged with dirt, looking up at the sky. It showed their fields of food. It showed the small hospital, the people tending to each other. And a voice, Anya Sharma's voice, speaking in flawless, formal Sylvan. "To the Sylvan Concordance we, the inhabitants of the world you designate Xylos 3, send this plea. The Kthar hegemony, acting in your name, threatens to cleanse us. We are a peaceful settlement. We have violated no concordance law, for this world has been absent its stewards for 7 decades. We ask for judgment. We ask for a hearing. We ask that the law you cherish be applied with the wisdom we know you possess. Do not let our story end in fire before it has truly begun." On the surface, the children's massive metal mobile caught the light of the rising sun. It began to spin, casting the brilliant flashing pattern of the Sylvan distress beacon into the atmosphere, a silent, beautiful scream for help. On the bridge of the unwavering mandible, Subcommander Cross was confronted with a situation his entire life had not prepared him for. This was not a battle. This was a performance. A argument. A piece of theater played out on a galactic stage. He was being attacked not with plasma, but with law. He was being blinded not with weapons, but with science. He was being hampered not with force, but with biology. And he was being portrayed not as a soldier, but as a bully. The sheer, multifaceted, unorthodox nature of the human response was something his rigid, hierarchical mind could not process. They had used every facet of their existence, their science, their culture, their children, their knowledge of their enemy's own allies, as a weapon. It was chaotic. It was undignified. It was brilliant. His second-in-command turned to him, his faceted eyes wide with a confusion that mirrored Kraz's own. Sub-Commander, the Sylvan Concordance battlecruiser Luminous Resolve has just entered the system. They are hailing us. They are demanding an explanation. Kraz looked at the main viewer, which now showed the serene, crystalline beauty of the Sylvan ship, its weapons powered down but its presence an undeniable statement of authority. He then looked back at the feed from the planet, the human children, the spinning mobile, the defiant, hopeful faces. He had come to enforce order. He had come to demonstrate power. And he had been utterly, completely outmaneuvered by a species that should have been cowering. They had not proven themselves stronger in a contest of arms. They had proven themselves more adaptable, more clever, more resilient, and more connected to the very fabric of the situation than he could ever be. The certainty upon which his entire life was built, the certainty of Cthar superiority, cracked. The aftermath was quiet. The Sylvan Concordance, upon investigating, found that the human claim was valid. The Cthar had acted beyond their mandate. There was no battle. There was only a profound galactic embarrassment for the hegemony and a deep humming curiosity from the Concordance. The unwavering mandible left the system, not in a blaze of glory, but in silent, shamed retreat. Eris Thorn stood once again on the landing field, but this time, he was facing a being of shimmering crystalline light, the emissary of the Sylvan Concordance. "Your people," the emissary said, its voice like wind chimes, "have done something remarkable. You did not fight the storm with a wall. You adjusted your sails. You did not meet force with force, but with a tapestry of solutions. We have watched your species from a distance, seeing only the chaos. Now, we see the pattern within it. A pattern of relentless, adaptive ingenuity. A stubborn, beautiful refusal to be defined by the expectations of others." The emissary gestured to the colony, now bathed in the peaceful light of the twin suns. The Cthar believed strength was in the unyielding carapace. We, the Sylvan, believed it was in accumulated wisdom. The Glesians believe it is in perfect logic. You have shown us a new kind of strength. The strength of the many, the strength of the different, the strength of the imperfect, working in concert. It is a frightening strength. And a magnificent one. New Haven was granted protectorate status, not as subjects, but as stewards. Humanity was offered a seat, a small one, at the great galactic table. Not because we had the biggest guns, but because we had demonstrated a quality the empires had forgotten, the ability to change the game itself. They said space belonged to the empires. They said it was a realm for the ancient, the ordered, the singularly powerful. They looked at our chaos, our short lives, our messy passions, and they saw weakness. They saw us build homes and called it an infestation. They saw us protect our children and called it a vulnerability. They saw us use our minds and called it panic. We proved them wrong. Not by becoming like them, but by embracing what we are. We are the splintered apes, the chaotic dreamers, the stubborn survivors. Our strength is not in our unity of form, but in our diversity of thought. Our empire is not of territory, but of ideas. And when they tried to crush us with their monolithic certainty, we responded with a symphony of 1,000 different answers. We did not conquer them. We confused them. We did not overpower them. We outthought them. And in doing so, we taught the oldest powers in the galaxy a lesson they will not soon forget. The galaxy was a finished painting, they said. But humanity? We are the wild, unpredictable brushstroke that changes the entire composition. We are the variable they never accounted for. And for the first time, the galaxy understood what it truly meant to be human. If this story of our stubborn, beautiful spirit moved you, subscribe for more human stories from the stars.